Hey guys, I'm Non-Demo Guy for HackersCurator.com. Earlier, Team Prez and I met up with Ethan Brown, the actor that played Curtis in the film Hackers. And we're going to bring you his views and responses to some of our interview questions, give you guys a look into how Ethan's experience was in making this film. So Ethan, the first question actually comes from fans of our page, and it is simply, so what do you do?
I just hang out looking cool, kissing the shit. You know? Basically, my life is an extension of my role as Curtis.
Nice. Well, when's the last time that you watched the film?
Yeah, you know, I haven't watched it in its entirety for some time. And it may have been a few years back, like on TV. Maybe it came on cable or something. It's fun just to reference and to look back on, you know.
So I think we want to hear a little bit about how you initially became involved with the film. So how did you hear about Hackers and how did you get brought into it?
So I heard about it just because I had a theatrical agent at the time. I was considering doing some acting. It was never anything that I was incredibly passionate about. I was living in New York at the time. They cast it out of New York, or at least part of it. And it was basically a casting. And I went and I remember meeting Ian Softly, director, who was a really nice guy. And we kind of just hit it off. Actually, initially I was reading for the role of Dade. And then they just went through the rest of the casting process. And I think, you know, Train Spotting had just been really big. And you know, Jonny Lee was a great actor. So, you know, I don't know if they would say that he tossed me the role, like, because I didn't get the main role, but it was sort of like, I think that they found somebody a little bit more suitable for the lead, and then just said, you know, well, we'd like to have Ethan in the film and see if he wants to be Curtis.
Had you had any acting experience before this, or was it really your first role?
It was my first major role. You know, I'd been in a few commercials, and yeah, that was really the first experience I had.
When did you first meet like the rest of the cast, like Johnny and those guys, and what was that like?
So I didn't meet them until London. Initially, there was 2 weeks in New York, and then I broke for a month or so and went and met their production in London. And so we had that initial day of shooting in down on West Broadway. That day, Angelina and she went to Beverly, and I didn't go to Beverly Hills High, but I went to a sort of a school near to that. So I had a lot of friends that also went to Beverly that knew her from high school. So we had some stuff to sort of reminisce upon, and like, I guess we were just sort of getting into character. We decided to go get a 40 from the bodega, and I think we smoked a couple of blunts and drank a 40, and spent the rest of the evening like on the motorcycle kissing her and stuff. And I thought it was on. I thought, you know, I was going to get to England, like we were going to continue where we left off. But by that time, we had just already swooped in there, and they were already an item by the time I got to. He seduced her with his British SAS novels and his knife collection. She was into it.
It was the accent, probably.
Yeah, something. but yeah, and we had a lot of fun shooting in England as well. So the first time I think I saw the cast was probably in a fitting at Pinewood, and I don't know if it was automatically, but I wasn't. They had us, you know, I guess when you shoot a film, a lot of times the people become your friends, and you know you have this sort of off-screen camaraderie that sort of goes hand in hand with like whatever they're doing on screen.
Yeah,
and I definitely was not part of their clique. They resented me, you know, for whatever reason. I don't think it was personal, but you know, basically my job was just to show up. You know, later than everyone else, 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'd like, you know, arrive on set. I'd been working since dawn, and I would just go and like make out with Angie, and then there was even I'm sure we'll get to this later, but in the classic scene where we're interrupted while making out by the crew, we spent a good afternoon on that scene improving. And it was my job to improv, like, disses and calling them names and stuff, like calling Jonny Leopard Boy because of his jacket. It was looking back on it, it's maybe not that riotously funny, but actually there was a pretty good like couple of set where we were all in stitches and like I was just coming out sort of freestyling, like just talking shit basically. So there was a little bit there. If there was any animosity on screen, I think it was real, just because circumstances.
So I've got to ask then, do you remember any of the other disses that you threw out there?
Yeah, I was like Quark. I called them Quark and the Megabots and like the Decepticons and Leopard Boy. It isn't, God, you know what? I wish I had it written down. Yeah, but just like, calling him, like, basically being Curtis, calling him. Yeah. And it was fun because like in the script, they actually, it describes him doing the slick one-handed maneuver. And
right.
Ian actually took me into a separate room with Angie and had me practice. And it was the bra that opened in the front, and had me practice for a good 30 minutes unsnapping her bra with one hand. And she was game. She didn't care. Set of breasts. So it was like, I was probably didn't like me, but they were great. I loved them all.
And you got paid for this.
I got paid for this. Yeah, exactly. It was pretty funny. It was pretty. It kind of made me think, maybe this acting stuff isn't so bad. Yeah.
I have to ask, when you first met Angelina, like, what were you thinking, knowing that you were basically going to be making out with her for half the movie?
Okay, well, you have to realize that she wasn't a star at that point.
Right.
She was Angelina Jolie, but she wasn't the superstar that she is now. So I thought, oh, she's cute, So like, it was Hollywood, she's cute, she's cool, and we kind of, we vibed that in one night. We hung out and talked and chatted. But after that I really didn't really, there was actually, I think somehow I was friends with the stylist. I mean, I guess you've talked to them before too. So there was a guy and a girl. They were English, and they were both fashion people. And like at some point, one of them gave me a Polaroid, and I'm looking for it for you. I'm trying to find it. But there's
nice.
She knew that they were going to see me, and they were fitting her, and they took a picture of her, and like she's got like it's her just giving like sort of like the one eye like winky smile.
Nice.
Like and they gave it to me like as a sort of, I don't know what it was, but it was just like, hey, Angie says hi. And so, it was fun and we were cool. And the most talking we did really during the entire production was in the scene that actually you wouldn't even know that I was there, because I ended up I ended up on the cutting room floor. But during there was a party, right? Throw, I guess, in someone's apartment, but it's like that was shot in a really cool apartment in London, in Hyde Park, like some penthouse off right. But in that scene where I guess Nikon is DJing, during that whole scene, like we spent a couple hours just chatting, because there was this scene where we were just talking and like the camera would pan us by us and stuff. And during that time, that's kind of when I got to know her the most. And we were kids. Let's just say that. He was telling me about how like, she was really stoked that that she didn't get stopped at, by customs because of all the knives that she brought with her. Me and my boy, and I actually flown a friend of mine out from New York to hang out with me. So I had like my buddy with me, and it was just a big party for everybody. But yeah, we chatted during that scene, and I got to see that, I got to understand that how what a cool and hardcore chick she really is.
Had you ever been to London before you started filming Hackers?
Yeah, I had actually, because my dad is a musician. I did I traveled with him when I was a kid a lot, so I'd been to London a couple times actually. And I had been living in New York for 5 years maybe, so I had a bunch of friends in New York that were from London as well. So was kind of cool. I got to fly out there and it was not like I was just waiting to get picked up to go to set. I mean, I was, but in between the times I was like off doing stuff with other people and running around London having fun. Yeah, it was really more of a vacation than a job because the working was just not hard at all. There was no like memorizing of lines or, practicing or rehearsing or any of that stuff.
So to go back just a little bit to the motorcycle scene, which was obviously shot in New York. So we talked with Jeff Butcher, who was the prop master for New York, and he had mentioned that like one of the things, like the memories that stood out the most to him was that even after they had called cut, you and Angelina were still just going at it on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Was that like, did you guys plan that, or was it just a moment thing, or was it trying to get the most out of Jonny? Or
yeah, no, I thought I was in there, but we hit it off. No, that rings a bell. Yeah, it was nice. I mean, the kissing was good, so we just kept on kissing, I guess. I think she's a method actor. She likes to get into character, and I was just happy to be there. I think I had some, and I was living in New York at the time, and I was DJing. I was hanging out downtown and stuff. So I had some like my buddies down, people that I knew, like actually just passing by. We're like, "Oh shit, what the?" What? Hey, and I'm like, So, but yeah, we enjoyed the kissing. It was good.
1 out of 10. 10 for sure. Nice.
Come on, Angelina Jolie, how old was she? 19?
Yeah, 19 at the time.
Not to sound like a her, but she's kind of in her. We were both in our prime.
Was that really you pulling away on the motorcycle?
That's not me. No, that's not me. There was a dude who got to drive the bike, and I was pissed at the time. I was like hoping that they were gonna let me drive it, but no. So he pulls away, and then they cut, and then I jump on the bike. And
have you ever, or would you ever consider riding a motorcycle in New York City?
Yeah, I would. I don't know if I'd ride that particular motorcycle in New York City. I don't know why they chose a motocross bike. Look with like the sort of they were doing, which a lot of the rave kids during that time were wearing motocross protection, kind of like looking like cyber armor or something. So maybe that's why they chose that bike. But yeah, no, I could picture myself in riding around New York, maybe like on a BBS or some kind of, like a Royal Enfield or something.
So
I'm too accident prone.
So a bit of a different question, going off script a little bit here. We actually got like a copy of the notebook from the prop master.
Nice.
And did you know that originally Curtis was supposed to be a biker with a Harley and all that other stuff?
Nope. I have no idea. And I'm glad that would have been interesting. Like Sons of Anarchy biker, like
yeah, leather with the leathers and everything.
Interesting. No, I had no idea.
It was a very, very early version. I'm glad they did not go that direction as well.
Me too. I'm not sure what direction they decided to go in, or exactly what that was per se, but it would visually, I think it worked.
So it's pretty common knowledge that Jonny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie got together during or after the filming. I know you said you thought you were in there. Were there any awkward moments on set as a result?
No. Like I said, I honestly barely had contact with them. Like, it was, and I think that maybe that Ian made it like that on purpose, just so that the sparks would fly when we did see each other, and it was plenty of tension. I think I just remember him as being cool. There was no animosity or sparks. I'm not sure we exchanged 2 words.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 scenes that got cut out that I was in that, nothing really serious, just like the party scene. I think if you read the script, there's more to it. But yeah, so, they really bonded on some, well, they got married, didn't they?
Yeah.
On some level.
Yeah. Must be something there.
So one thing that's somewhat well known, I guess, is that the rest of the crew spent a good amount of time like meeting with other hackers and learning how to use computers and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of research or preparation did you do to sort of get into your role as Curtis?
Nothing in terms of technology, just because Curtis was sort of anti-tech. I mean, he resented the computers and the whole, what they were all about. He thought that it was stupid, and he was more into himself. If anything, I think that I had a small hand in helping with his look, because I was spending my time at the Tunnel and like Club USA and these clubs in New York where it's just full of club kids actually dressing like we did in the movie. And I was like what I was already wearing anyway. So I was
right.
like to infuse a little bit of my own style into the role. And I was also probably as much of a tech geek, if not more, than any of the other actors in the movie before the movie itself. So, I was a big Mac guy. I've always, I work on computers still, mostly just with audio production, but especially like, when right around that time, I mean, forgive me, what year was this? This
was 94 that you guys would have been filming.
Yeah. So like, a few years after that, I'd say, but not many, is when we all started getting online and like AOL,
right.
So I was one of the first people I knew to be doing stuff like that. But it was an exciting time then, I think, for technology, and it still is,
For sure.
So it was kind of fun, and it's fun looking back to see like, oh, this is like that scene where they're like Google-eyed over like the display, the refresh rate, like that, whatever, 5300 CS or whatever. Wow. But and it's funny to see how far computing has come and how far it's continuing to evolve. And so yeah, it was just it's kind of cool to be part of what is now becoming almost like a moment in time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How much of your character of Curtis was you, and how much was in the character? You've already said that you're very opposite to him in terms of technology.
Right. Yeah, I don't hate on the tech, but I think we've all got a little bit of Curtis in us, but I don't know. Curtis, it was really kind of a two-dimensional character. There was no angst in Curtis. He's just self-absorbed, kind of a stud. He thinks he's the hot shit. Maybe he is a little bit, but like he's really not cool because he's not like, he doesn't have any soul, really. I think what's wrong with Curtis. And that's where we differ, I think. But I like to think so. But yeah, I've been on both sides of the coin. I think in real life, I've been that guy that wants to get the girl, and I've been the jerk who's gets dumped for the dude who probably was a bit more sensitive. And so I've been on both sides of the coin. I wouldn't really say that I'm probably less Curtis than most people, actually. I'm a pretty sensitive guy.
So we've heard that like Matthew Lillard got to keep like a computer or something like that. I mean, some of the other people, especially like the VFX guys, kept little certain things. Did you keep anything from the set or the production that you still have today?
No, I didn't. Oh, actually, wait, that's not true. I did keep some stuff. I believe I kept a pair of Reeboks.
Oh, the like the bright,
the Insta pumps.
The pump yours
with like the honeycomb patterning on the soles, like
that.
Yeah, I kept those, I think. And I held on to like a jacket or something, like maybe it was like a blue fire coat, like some one piece of wardrobe. And also I left the set with this like fuchsia hair. I got to keep that.
Yeah. How long did you end up keeping the hair?
For a while, actually. I suffered some. It wasn't them. They came close to burning my scalp, but then after leaving there, I was like, okay, I like the hair thing. I was kind of going through like a cyberpunk phase anyway, and like kind of doing that, living that lifestyle, or so I thought. And so I kept it for a while, and then I wanted to strip it and do some different colors, and I ended up burning the hell out of my scalp doing that. And then I had like, and this was like you say, like 95 or something, and then I had like what would now be termed an Eminem haircut or style, but this was way before Eminem. I had like sort of fake, like, you know, platinum blonde, kind of like.
Yeah.
Not that that's not fake. I mean, just platinum blonde. It was fake on me. Let's put it that way.
So going back real quick to the costumes, did they put those outfits together for you, or did you mostly get to pick out all of your own stuff?
They really let me like get into it. I don't want to take credit for their work at all, but they definitely let me pick out from their stuff what I wanted to wear.
Nice.
Even like suggest some stuff, you know. But like I still loved like soccer jerseys for some reason. I collect them still. So, you know, I was just, I mean, like I said, I was going to the tunnel. I don't know if you guys know what that scene was like at that time.
The rave scene?
I'm familiar with it.
New York rave scene, like, you know, at the time was kind of a thing. And like some of the styles that were kind of evolved in that period are still sort of prevalent. I remember going into the wardrobe and going, oh, and like just kind of going crazy about stuff and picking stuff out and then having like piles of stuff that like that we kind of, you know, that we sort of just whittled it down to like the stuff that we all thought that we did great.
Nice.
Did you have a favorite outfit from the film?
Yeah, I like the JVC, the goalie shirt, and I like those, like I told you about those Reeboks I got to keep. And really, I mean, I really only have 2 outfits in the movie, I think, as in the movie as it came out. There's just the beginning where I'm wearing that jacket that I'm wearing in the beginning. I think it's like a first jacket, but it's not orange. It's like this weird blue. And I think that's what I'm wearing. And that outfit I liked. And then the other one was the JVC jersey. So there's only really 2 outfits. But,
do you still have the Reeboks and the blue jacket by chance?
I wish I could say I did. It's quite a while ago. I wish I could say that I did. Yeah. Those Reeboks are really cool. Those are like futuristic as hell. They still look very futuristic.
You know, they just re-released them this year.
Really?
Yeah. I really wanted a pair.
That's so cool. Yeah, you should definitely get it. I should get a pair as well. Yeah, I love it. I mean, you know, you know that you're onto something when like the companies like reproduce stuff.
So speaking of the scenes that got cut,
yeah.
Do you remember any scenes in particular that that you wish would have made it into the film?
I just remember that there was that party scene, and I'm trying to remember what happens in the script. I can't really remember it. It was something to do with her being on a phone. I don't know. There was like 2 scenes that didn't end up in the movie. I think they were both in the same location in that party.
So did they give you any kind of direction for your character, either aesthetically or in terms of attitude?
No,
like who this guy was.
No, it was like the unspoken direction was cocky. Be cocky, you know. So, and I think that I was already kind of cocky at that stage in my life. I just kind of molded right into it.
Oh, what were you, 19, 20 maybe at the time? Yeah. Yeah, we all go through
that phase in one way or another.
Yeah. So Hackers obviously, you know, has a very loyal cult following today. What are your personal thoughts on why it connected so much with its fans?
I think it was like good timing, first of all. And, you know, like it's funny because we were just talking about the sort of, you know, that spirit of youth, you know, and it sort of rolled that into the technology boom, really, you know. And I don't know what role rollerblading played in all of that, or why they decided to go with that. But you know, the way the movie ends, and it's really, you know, up high energy, and they're like, what is their free our data? Is that their slogan?
So that doesn't make it into the film, but it is the FOD in the script.
Wow.
And the book. And it's like,
I'm like more attached to the script itself than I actually.
Yeah.
I think that they did a really cool job of sort of presenting sort of like a coming of age story that people could really relate to. You know, people of a certain age range that saw it at the time. You know, they look back on it fondly as like, you know, being part of what got them involved and interested in tech. And the term hackers back then was more of like a urban legend than it is now. It's like a vocation.
Mm-hmm.
The writer and the writers and the Ian and everybody involved kind of hit the nail in such a way that it resonated with the people coming of age, and also as technology really changed the way we live our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever had any interesting moments with fans?
Well,
over the years?
Yeah, I've had like I've met people, and I mean I've somebody that was really a friend of mine actually that I met because she was a fan of the movie and like friended me on social media based on that. And I didn't know it 4 years later.
So obviously you've seen our page by now, I'm guessing. What are your thoughts of the page?
Nice, very nice. So it's a worthy tribute to the film, and I think you guys have obviously done a lot of work over a long period of time. I really admire your diligence and and sticking to it, and I think that all the Hackers fans out there, I really appreciate it. I'm sure they do. So good job.
Excellent, thank you.
Well, thanks for helping us to contribute to it. My pleasure. So I know you said you didn't really connect with any of the other actors that much on set, but was there anyone on set from cast or crew that you do feel like you connected with and that you still keep in touch with?
Not that I still keep in touch with. I connected with Angelina initially. We definitely hung out and we're palling around a little bit that first shooting day, and then since later on in the shoot, it was all in good fun and good spirits. I was I know that like I just remember the grumblings coming from like the Matthew Lillard direction, and I'm not sure exactly whether Renoli or any of the other guys in the cast, whether they were like Curtis fans or not, but there was definitely a nice everyone was respectful and friendly, and I'm sure if I ran into any of those guys, it would be great to see them. But I can't say that I'm still in touch with anybody from that project.
Well, looking back then, what is like the memory for you from the experience of making this movie?
It's shallow, and there's two. one is sitting on that bike, like just going hard on the deep, just giving it your 110%. That was fun, and then the unclipping of the bra, that exercise. Not so much the filming of it, but just because I'm not sure that I ever actually did it on like while we were rolling tape. But for some reason, I think he wanted me to get that maneuver good. So it was, like I was saying, I was like 18, so it was just a cheeky fun,
So it was a practical skill in the day.
It was. When I read the screenplay, I was like, wow, how is that even done? Get it out.
Well, while the other cast was learning very practical skills like rollerblading, you were learning things that could take you into the future.
I was liberating breasts. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Ethan, thank you for your time, obviously. Great to have you, the interview, your thoughts on the film and everything, and we're excited to bring it to the fans.
Hey, well, it's been my pleasure, you guys, and I really think what you've done is great, and I know the fans are getting a lot out of the site and out of the content you're putting together. So it was a pleasure to be a part of it, and good luck moving forward.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.